video, we will explore a few ways to humanize sounds. We will also tweak some instrument parameters and try to enhance these parts. I've color-coded the tracks, but these are still the same parts that I've been working on in the previous videos. Let's start with these chords. As you can see, these notes have the same velocity, same length, and are quantized tightly. And this is not what a human performance would sound like. It would be impossible to play all these notes at the exact same timing and by the same strength. So if I wanted to add some human touch, one thing I can do is come to Functions and MIDI Transform. Here I have access to a variety of functions that will edit the MIDI notes in different ways. The one we're going to look at is Humanize. What this will do is it will randomize the note position, velocity, and length. And we can adjust the details here and set the range for randomization. But for now, we can leave them as they are, don't have to touch anything, and let's just see how this will affect the MIDI notes. Come down here, and if I click Select Only, it will select the notes that are inside this region. Then I can click Operate Only to perform this randomization, or I can click Select and Operate and do both at the same time. I'm going to click Operate Only, and you can see that the velocities have changed immediately. And also, it's a bit hard to see because it's very subtle, but the notes have been shifted off the grid a little bit. If we zoom in on the grid, we can clearly see that the notes are not perfectly quantized, and now we have varying velocity and note length even though the change is subtle. If I come back to Functions, MIDI Transform, and Humanize, and click Operate Only repeatedly, it will keep randomizing these parameters and feels like to a greater extent. I just pressed it like 5 times. Let's hear what it sounds like now. So now it's sounding quite obvious. Now let's take a look at another function that will help us add some human touch. Open the inspector by pressing I and come to the region inspector. Notice that there's quantize here. We can quantize the notes inside the piano roll, but we can also apply quantization to the whole region from the region inspector. I'm going to turn this on by selecting a value, let's say 16th notes. And these notes have just snapped to the nearest grid. Once region quantization is on, I have access to these parameters down here under More. If I increase the value for Q flam, watch what happens. The notes are spreading out and it's creating an ascending arpeggio. If I bring this to a negative value, it creates a descending arpeggio. So this can be used to mimic how humans would play a chord, as it's not possible for humans to play multiple notes at the exact same time. This is also great for adding some groove to your track. Let's listen to the humanized and non-humanized chord progression side by side. So these are some ways to mimic human touch. But you don't have to humanize your sounds. It's more of a creative choice, and it really depends on the style of music you are making. Next, let's try tweaking some instrument parameters to refine and shape the sounds to our liking. Let's try modifying this sound. So this is Logic's Alchemy synth, and to change the characters of this sound, we need to go into the instrument window and access the parameters here. But there's a simpler and quicker way to modify the sound without opening the instrument window, and that is Smart Controls. Press B on the keyboard to open the Smart Controls pane at the bottom of the screen. We can also do the same by clicking this button. So in the Smart Controls pane, Logic will pick and show a set of controls for the selected track. The content here depends on the instrument or other plugins inserted on the track. So for Alchemy, we can, for example, morph between these sets of different settings to drastically change the sound. And if I move over to controls, I have access to more specific parameters, for example, the filter cutoff, glide, let's reduce this, And over here, we have attack, decay, sustain, and release. These are to control how the volume rises and falls. If I lower the sustain all the way down, the sound is going to be really short. But I can increase the decay, and it will become more like a plucky sound. Now, at this stage, you don't need to know what these controls mean or what they do. Just experiment and see how they affect the sound. Now, the reverb sounds a bit large, so I'm going to come here and reduce the reverb time by bringing this dot to the left. And here I can adjust the overall amount of reverb and delay. Let's also try smart controls on the bass in this section because it sounds a bit flat. Let's loop this region, solo this track, and press B to open the smart controls pane. Here you can see the controls are completely different from Alchemy's because it's a different instrument. You can adjust the tone, add some drive, downsampling. Let's keep this down. And echo. Some echo will be nice here because it will fill in the gaps between the notes. So overall, smart controls are a great way to start shaping your sounds while keeping things simple.
Hi, my name is Ski Okafor, Head of Education and Curriculum here at Point Blank Music School in London. This is just a taster of what you can get from our free course. Head over to pointblankmusicschool.com now to access the rest of the videos.